I think about men. I don't know why. And I'm so sorry.
The doctor is holding a small pink bundle. And wrapped in the bundle, I see the little face of my dog.
Sergio, are you there?
I know you're going through a little bit of a rough time right now.
Lo único que hay es hielo.
We're gonna get through this. Don't worry.
From a movie about so-called conversion therapy to cure homosexuality to Laurie Anderson's portrait of her dog. Welcome to our weekly film show with our film critic Lisa Nesselson. Hello, Lisa.
Hello, Eve.
Now, let's start with Boy Erased, which is based on a memoir of the same name by Garrard Conley. He's an American author who wrote about what it was like to go through gay conversion therapy, Lisa.
This is a very thought-provoking movie. It's not at all strident, but it does a fine job of chipping away at so-called family values as practiced in small-town America. Nancy, played by Nicole Kidman, and Marshall, played by Russell Crowe, are loving and supportive parents to their son, Jared, played by the excellent Lucas Hedges. Marshall is a dedicated Baptist pastor, monumentally sincere in his reverence for his Lord. He believes that homosexuality is a sin and an abomination. When mom and dad discover that their son has had a sexual experience with another man, they pray for guidance and decide to send their son to hell on earth in the form of a residential program designed to cure homosexuality.
Okay, well, let's take a look at Boy Interrupted. It's the moment Jared comes out to his parents.
All right. You want me to stop with the games? I'll stop with them. I broke up with Chloe. Because... we broke up because I think it's true. About me. God help me. I think about men.
Well, the director, Joel Edgerton, has said he hopes this movie will help end the practice of conversion therapy. How is it supposed to work? Are they praying away the homosexuality?
Almost. It's not a rational transaction such as converting currency or converting electrical current. The sexual education reorientation camp called Love in Action is run by charismatic Reed Evil. Victor Sykes, played by dazzlingly talented and versatile Joel Edgerton, who also wrote and, as you said, directed. The residents are subjected to exercises, some people would say torture, designed to show them the error of their ways. Jared gives it a shot because he wants to please his parents, and also, given his religious upbringing, his desires make him uncomfortable. He's being told that being gay is a choice, not a built-in feature, and also a sin.
So, if the treatment fails, which it surely will, mum and dad have a bit of a problem, don't they? Do they go on loving their son?
Well, that is the dilemma that's so well depicted. Tens of thousands of Americans have already been subjected to this ineffectual nonsense, and efforts to outlaw it, thankfully, are underway in several states. Few parents would send their child somewhere to have their eye color changed from, say, brown to blue and expect lasting results, and yet some people really do believe that with the proper instruction, behavior can be modified to revert to what the good Lord surely intended. This is a wrenching story, beautifully acted. I believe it's an excellent movie, and no matter where you send me to change my mind, that is going to be my stance.
Okay, that was Boy Erased. Now, out this week in France is a documentary made by Laurie Anderson. It's called Heart of a Dog, and it's a portrait of the conceptual musician and her pooch.
Yes, I really like this movie. Laurie Anderson's performance art and musical innovations started getting attention back in the 1970s. In the mid-80s, her only previous directorial outing, the concert film Home of the Brave, played for over a year in one cinema here in Paris. She has always been startlingly original as a musician, inventing instruments and incorporating them into her distinctive sound. So turning her unique sensibilities to film once again, she's made a movie that's a meditation on and tribute to her late dog, Lola Bell. But it's far more wide-reaching than that, of course, branching out into the wider nature of death and loss because we're in the presence of an artist and sublimely quirky storyteller. Anderson grew up in the Midwest, but embraced New York as an adult, and her reflections on how the sky itself has changed since the September 11th attacks there is just one of the film's touching insights.
Okay, well, let's take a look at this. This is Heart of a Dog.
I want to tell you a story about a story. And it's about the time I discovered that most adults have no idea what they're talking about. But finally, I saw it. The connection between love and death.
Now, this looks very conceptual. And what are ordinary filmgoers going to make of it?
Well, it's a legitimate fear that they won't grasp what's going on, but I don't think it applies in this case. It's fairly user-friendly. I saw this at the Chicago International Film Festival with Anderson on hand, and several audience members got up and said, "Thank goodness you have revealed a family taboo that I share, and I've never heard anyone go after it so directly. So when someone playful and seemingly upbeat like Anderson reveals a secret like that, it packs a punch. And yes, I am being deliberately coy, so you can enjoy that on your own." And with an eye to our next film, in 2003, Anderson became NASA's first artist in residence.
Wow. Okay, well, next to a Cuban film called Sergio and Sergei. It's set in 1991 when the USSR is falling apart and Cuba is entering its hardest economic crisis. Now, Sergei is a Russian cosmonaut stranded at the MRI space station, and Sergio, a professor of Marxism. Now, they share a common passion, amateur radio. Tell us more.
Unless you were an unconditional fan of the Soviet philosophy, of course, then you thought the Soviet bloc's demise was a great thing. But not so great if you're Sergei Krikalev, stuck on the space station, about to break the record for space endurance over 300 days, orbiting an Earth where huge changes are in progress. Sergei blasted off from the USSR, and if he makes it back, it will be to a much smaller entity called Russia. In Cuba, where times are drastically hard, since the USSR ran out of resources to prop up the island's economy, a ham radio buff named Sergio happens to land on the right frequency to enter into contact with the man in space. Sergio studied Marxist philosophy in Moscow, so he conveniently speaks fluent Russian, and the cosmonaut once had a Cuban girlfriend. So they're both battling, with humor, the fallout from the fall of communism. This delightful film is based on their unlikely, very long-distance friendship, literally out of this world.
Okay, well, let's take a glimpse at Sergio and Sergei.
Sergio, are you there?
I know you're going through a little bit of a rough time right now.
Lo único que hay es hielo.
We're gonna get through this. Don't worry.
¿Quién habla ahí? ¡Papi!
Romeo, in the orbital station.
Орбитальная станция «Мир» вы говорите?
Вы говорите по-русски?
Engineer?
Нет. Filosofía.
Marxism.
Está bajo investigación.
Tú estás en algo con los americanos y los rusos.
Дорогие Sergei.
Спасибо. Compañero.
So, amateur radio brings together a Cuban, a Russian, and an American.
American actor Ron Perlman, who liked this story so much he decided to help produce it, plays Peter, a Polish-Jewish immigrant to the U.S. whose family was murdered by Stalin and who has written a book about conspiracy theories surrounding the space program. Sergio in Cuba has a license to use his homemade radio, but he's not supposed to connect beyond a certain radius, certainly not with a Yank, an enemy of the Cuban Revolution. Now, I'm a sucker for anything that has to do with the space race. Watching the moon landing on TV the summer I was 13 with my family still chokes me up 50 years later. This is a very sweet movie, and it's incredibly cinematic. The director really has creativity to burn.
And Sergio doesn't fully realize that the Cuban authorities are spying on him, do they?
No, that's another wrinkle. But you know what? The Cuban police are also at the mercy of very old equipment, power blackouts. Will they figure out that Sergio is friends with a guy who is clandestinely building rafts for people who want to try and sail to the U.S., or that he and his friend have found a very novel way to make ends meet in a dreadful economy? But more important, will the radio buffs help get Sergei rescued? The story is narrated by Sergio's adorable daughter, and I can't imagine not liking this film. It is that refreshing.
Okay, well, there's moving on now. There's a lot of talk at the moment that there aren't enough women directing movies, but one of France's oldest and most respected filmmakers is a woman.
Indeed she is. Agnes Varda was born in Belgium in May 1928. That makes her 2 months shy of 91 and still going very, very strong. She directed her first film back in 1954. She had had no training except her work as a portrait photographer, but she made a movie when the vast majority of women were mostly making dinner. She's made dozens of films, features, and shorts, some of them enduring classics. Here in the 21st century, she has migrated from a mix of fiction and documentary to making quirky documentaries and also curating art installations. Just 2 years ago, she directed the award-winning Faces Places in the company of maker of giant photos, JR. Franco-German TV channel Arte just released Varda by Agnes on DVD, which means you can get it from all over the world. And if you want a sprightly crash course in how to create, this is a must. Varda's mind is obviously that of a congenital artist, the kind of artist whose observations are personal but always of interest to third parties, and that is a special skill. The film consists of Varda delivering lectures in various settings, discussing how she made a number of her films, how limited resources often led to very creative decisions, how the invention of small portable video cameras made her trademark close-up interviews even easier. We see behind-the-scenes footage of the time in 1995, Robert De Niro flew into France on the Concorde for 1 day of shooting with Catherine Deneuve for Varda's feature in honor of the centenary of cinema. And it sounds pretentious, but she really does fashion visual poetry, the kind that makes your heart go zing. Probably not since ancient Egypt has anybody given a cat such a noble, custom-designed gravesite, which figures prominently in the film. Her tribute to one of her beloved late kitties is so clever, the Cartier Foundation bought it for their collection.
Okay. Lisa, thank you very much. We're going to leave you with Varda by Agnes. And remember our website. We're also on Twitter, Facebook and Instagram. There's more news coming up on France 24 after this.
Je voulais faire un film sur ces jeunes qui n'ont pas de toit et qui n'aiment pas la loi. Je voulais filmer ce que veut dire liberté et saleté et raconter une fille jeune qui fait la route.
C'était cette colère de mon âme qui la tenait vivante. Et à force de dire non à tout le monde, cela va la mener jusqu'à sa mort.
France 24. Every art form,